Peak season is just around the corner, and whether you sell tech, fashion, collectibles, furniture, or anything else in between, the next few weeks can really make your year. Now, I see so many sellers just not prepping for peak early enough and missing out on a ton of potential sales. So in this video, I'm going to give you my top 5 tips on how you can make sure that your eBay store is in good health, your listings are optimized, and you can make the most out of this year's peak season. Now, there are a number of different ways that you can optimize your store and your listings for peak so everything performs well and you maximize sales. But the first thing that we're going to look at today is listing titles. Now, your listing title is the first thing that any buyer will see when they search for a product in eBay and are presented with a big long list of products in best match search. So you need to make sure that your title is descriptive and it stands out above the competitors and makes a buyer want to click your listing to go into it and learn more and hopefully buy it. Now, you have 80 characters in a title, and my advice is to maximize those 80 characters and use every single one of them. But use them wisely, because actually 80 characters isn't that much. You want to be using primary and secondary descriptive keywords. You don't want to be using filler words. You don't want to be using things like and, if, the, but. You don't want to be using emojis or exclamation marks or any kind of punctuation. You don't need to set your title all capitals because, well, let's be honest, you don't really need to be shouting at buyers. You just need to use primary and secondary keywords that accurately describe the product that you're selling. And remember, the first 4 words in your title are the most important because that's what eBay's algorithm, which is called Cassini, will use to rank your listing in best match search. Now, let me give you an example because it's probably the best thing to do. Imagine I'm selling this space grey iPhone. It's network unlocked and it's got 64 gig worth of storage. Now, I always put myself in a buyer's shoes. What would they type into eBay when searching for that particular product? And that is generally a good guide about how to structure your title. Now, for me, I would list this product as iPhone 11, 64 gig, space grey. They're my first 4 words and accurately describe the main features of this phone. I can then use the secondary descriptive keywords for the other parts of the device that describe it well, like network unlocked, iOS 16, single SIM, excellent condition. And through those primary and secondary keywords, we've made up our 80 and we've got a really good optimized title that will hopefully get you some sales. Now, once you've got an optimized title and a buyer has clicked in, the next thing that they see is the photographs, and you need to make sure that your photographs are the best that they can be. You have 24 spaces for photographs and you actually have 1 space for video as well. Now, whilst you don't have to use all 24, use a minimum of 6 where possible and try and get in as many as you can. My advice is to photograph the product that you're selling from all different angles so a buyer can see every part of the product. If the product has any imperfections or any wear or any damage, make sure you highlight them in your photographs as well. Don't hide them because inevitably, if you don't show the wear or damage or any imperfections, it can lead to returns, and obviously that then harms your metrics and it can have a detrimental effect on your eBay store. So be open and be honest. If there's any areas that you feel a buyer should know about, take photographs of them and show them. And you have 1 available spot for video as well, and I would really consider using video. Now, it doesn't lend itself to every single product, granted, but certain products, a video will do more than several photos. So if you're able to, and the product lends itself to it, use video because it'll help your optimization. Now, the main consensus around photographs is to shoot them on a light or a white background. Now, this is for 2 reasons. Firstly, if you shoot on a light or a white background, the product that you're photographing will generally be the center of focus and it won't get lost in a colored background. Secondly, if you want your listings to push to Google Shopping, then it's really important to have a light or a white background photograph because photographs can get rejected if they're on a coloured background or a busy background. Now, I know what you're saying. My product doesn't lend itself to a white background because it might be a lamp or it might be a chair and you want it in a lifestyle image, and that's absolutely fine. And if Google Shopping isn't important to you, don't worry about the white background thing. The key thing is to make sure that your product is photographed well, it's shown from all angles, and any wear or imperfections, as I said earlier, are shown. Now, one of my top tips is to make sure that your lighting is as good as it can be. You can achieve that by a few different ways. Firstly, you can have a window. and take photographs of your products using natural light by a window. Obviously that only works during the day. You've then got to think about what to do in the evening. So maybe look at potentially buying some studio lights. Now you can get them really cheaply from places like eBay, for example. 40, 50 quid, and you can get a set of lights that just clip onto either a table or a freestanding in tripods, and you can really nicely light your items to photograph well. If you can't afford studio lights, you can always go to a DIY store, buy a natural light bulb, pop it into the ceiling rose at home and take your photographs underneath that. But the key thing is, make sure your photographs are lit well, they're nice, light and bright, they're not dark, just so a buyer can make out what they're buying. And if you do that, you will definitely start to convert more sales. Next, we're going to look at item specifics and descriptions, because believe it or not, these are really, really important as well. Now, a lot of people will skim over item specifics. You have required specifics that you have to fill in order to list a product. You also have a whole ton of secondary item specifics. Many people just either don't know the answer or can't be bothered or skim over them and forget them and just list an item without filling them in, which for me, honestly, I think that's a mistake. Now, a lot of buyers will use filters when searching for a product, and Cassini will use the answers to the item specifics that you have entered to place your product based on what filters people will use. So if you've omitted something like the colour, for example, and somebody searches for a blue item and you haven't filled that in, then your item will just be discarded out of the search results after a buyer have used a filter. So it's really important that you maximize as many item specifics as you can in your eBay listing to make sure it's discoverable. Now, as I said earlier on, there are required specifics that you have to put in, but their secondary item specifics are really important. Fill in as many as you can. Now, not every single item specific request is going to be relevant for your product, so don't worry about missing stuff out. And if you don't know, Google is your friend. You can search Google and try and find specifics about the product, like the weight, the size. And if you're even struggling there, a little top tip is to use AI. ChatGPT is a fantastic source for finding out item specifics of a product that you're trying to sell. You can even upload a photograph to ChatGPT and ask it for as many item specifics as possible, and it will spit out a ton of information. Some of it will be relevant, some of it won't be, but a lot of it you'll be able to use in your listing under the secondary item specifics. Now, the more you can fill in, the more discoverable your product will be. Now, a little top tip, there is also a custom item specific. This is where you can add your own item specifics. Say, for example, you're selling a product and you're given 12 months warranty. You can click that in and add it as a user warranty, and it will help your item be optimized and be discoverable. And it'll give your buyer a little bit of extra information about the product that might be a little bit better than your competitor. Moving on to descriptions, because these are really important as well. Make sure you're describing your product in as much descriptive text as possible. I always use keywords for my title in my description so the two mirror each other, and make sure you keep a note of the photographs that you've used as well. So if there's any imperfections shown in your photograph, make sure that you cover that in your description. Now, AI is starting to play a part here as well, because eBay have introduced AI descriptions, which it's still in its infancy, so it doesn't always bring you a good description, but sometimes there is usable text in there. You can just click generate AI description, and eBay will use your title, your photographs, and your item specifics to draw up a description for you. You can add to that, you can take some stuff away, but it's just a really good tool to use to help you maximize your time if you're listing a lot. Now, as always, I always recommend to be accurate and honest. If you've shown any imperfections in your photographs, cover them off in your descriptions. And if you make sure that everything links in well, you'll have a really good foundation for a solid, rankable listing. Now, before we get on to tips 4 and 5, if you've enjoyed this video so far, please consider dropping it a subscribe and tapping that bell icon. And of course, give this video a massive thumbs up, because it's the only way that YouTube knows that people like my videos and will help my channel get more discovered. So thank you very much in advance. Now, let's get on to tip number 4, which is all about keeping your listings refreshed. Now, for me, this is really important because eBay start to class listings that haven't had any sales activity as stagnant. Too many stagnant listings in your store can really affect the quality and the success of your store, and can start affecting non-stagnant listings as well. Now, what is a stagnant listing? If a listing has not had any sales activity in 90 days, eBay will class it as stagnant and will stop promoting it. You still may get some activity and maybe even a sale here and there, but in general terms, after 90 days, if an item has not had any activity, it will be classed as stagnant because it's not had any interaction from a buyer. So eBay thinks that nobody's interested in it, and it's not going to promote a listing that has no interest, hence classing it as stagnant. Now, there are a few things that you can do to avoid that. Firstly, after a couple of weeks, if you've had no traction on the listing, have a look at it, see how many views it's got, see what you can do to improve it, maybe tweak the title a little bit, and then see if that has any effect. If it gets to 30 to 45 days, I would have ended the listing by now if it has had no sales, and then I would have sold similar. Sold similar, make sure that it's a new listing and gets a little bit of new listing promotion. But before I make it live, I will research the price a little bit. I may take an extra few photographs, adjust the price to make it more competitive, maybe adjust the title a little bit and the description, and then make it live again. I'm always refreshing my listings within a 3, 4, 5, 6 week period, depending on what kind of activity they've had. If they've had zero activity, I generally do that sooner. If they've maybe had 1 or 2 sales, but it's kind of slow, and other listings that are similar are doing more activity than I am, then generally I would end it and then do it as a sell similar. Now, why do I do it as a sell similar? I touched on it a couple of seconds ago. Selling similar instead of relist means that although you're listing the same product, eBay's algorithm thinks it's a brand new product. And as we all know, brand new listings get a little bit of extra promotion from eBay up best match search. So if you've got a listing that's not done any sales in 45 days, 30, 40, 50 days, and you end it and relist it, all you're doing is you're relisting the same listing that had no activity on it. It's got the same eBay number and it's not going to get any extra promotion. However, if you end it and then sell similar, it's the same product because you're using the old listing as a base listing, but it's got a new eBay number and Cassini thinks it's a new listing. So you'll get that little bit of promotion. It'll help. So that's why I always recommend to end a product. If you want to relist it, end it and then use a sell similar, not relist. Now, one thing I will point out that if you've got a listing that's quite old and you've got a lot of sales data on it, but for some reason it's slowed down, try and do everything that you can to get that existing listing firing again. Because if you've got a lot of sales data on it, maybe it's a product that you've sold 100 products on that one listing, you don't want to be ending that listing and losing all that sales data. You need to look at why that listing isn't performing sooner rather than later. So if it was selling really well for 6 months and then you've had 6 weeks where it's not doing any sales, there's got to be a reason. And I would really investigate that specific listing in a lot of detail sooner rather than later to try and get it firing again. So now we've got our listings optimized, we've got our store refreshed and on point. What are the other things that you can do to make sure that you try and maximize sales? Well, I would always recommend looking at promotions. There are a number of different promotions you can do as a business seller, for example, to try and get your listings better placed and in front of buyers. For example, you can set coupons. So you can set a coded coupon on your store that people can use to get 2 for 1 or a percentage off or buy one get one free, for example. These coupons can be public, so you can place a coupon on a product or on all of your product or on a category, and people will see it whenever they're searching for it. If they're searching for a product and they'll see it in Best Match, you have a little red piece of text saying, this product has got 10% off. Or you can set a private coupon and then send it out to a specific buyer category. So if you want to do a 10% loyalty discount to recent buyers who have bought in 30 days, for example, you can do that by setting a private coupon and then sending it out in a message to your buyer groups. Now, when you're listing a product, you can also activate multi-buy. This will enable you to offer a discounted price if people are buying 2, 3, 4, or 5 items. And you could offer tiered pricing based on how many people want to buy. And this is a good way to convert multiple purchases from one buyer. Now, one promotional tool that is massively overlooked by sellers is eBay shop newsletters. And you can send these directly to your subscribed buyer groups. And they're a really good way of highlighting things like multi-buys or coupons or new products. Now, I don't know why this is such an overlooked tool because it can be really effective. There are not many ways that you can market directly to buyers, but shop newsletters are definitely one of them. You can set a shop newsletter up, you can send it directly to your buyers. They have to be subscribed to your store or following your store. And that newsletter will pop directly to their inbox and will highlight coupons that you've got, new products that you've got, and it's a really effective way to convert sales. You can also monitor the effectiveness of newsletters because you've got some metrics in there. There's not a lot. You can see open rate and you can see conversion rate. You can see click-throughs and you can see how much money that you've generated from your newsletters. It's just a really, really untapped way of converting sales. Now, whatever promotions you choose to run, I would definitely recommend to leverage social media to drive engagement. Now, you can link in your social media account directly to your eBay account, things like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube, and you can post directly to these social platforms from your eBay account. And it's just a fantastic way to raise engagement, raise awareness, and drive people from your socials to your eBay store to try and maximize sales. So there you go. They are my top 5 tips to help you get your eBay store in good health and your listings optimized, ready to maximize opportunities around this peak season. If you've liked this video, please make sure you hit that subscribe button, tap that bell icon, and as I said earlier on, please give this video a massive big thumbs up. Please post all your comments down below. If you've tried these things before, let me know what success you've had. I will always do my best to add comments as and when I can. Thank you for watching. That's the main thing. Thank you for watching. I hope these tips will help, and I hope you will have a good peak season and move into 2026 with lots of eBay energy. Thanks for watching. Keep sourcing, keep making money. I'll see you on the next video.